Now that Boba Fett has finally started to fill out the ranks of his brand new criminal empire, he can begin projecting his power on Tatooine and the incoming Pykes. But he's still missing one thing: muscle. Although he has black krrsantan and the street urchins, he's going to need some of the most skilled and experienced bounty hunters in the galaxy to take on the upcoming threat, especially if the Pykes are backed by Crimson Dawn under Qi'ra. So let's break down all of the bounty hunters who could join Boba in his quest to obliterate the Pyke syndicate, or at least the major ones. Remember to subscribe for more Book of Boba Fett content, and let's get into it. So the first and most obvious option is clearly Din Djarin or Mando. Mando is the current holder of the Darksaber and therefore the leader of Mandalore, and his theme was distinctly played in Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett when Fett mentioned hiring muscle. It's a no-brainer that he'll appear and assist Boba in his struggle. Considering Grogu is now off training with Luke Skwyalker and Din was in the middle of beginning the process of liberating Mandalore, or what's left of it, it's not clear what exactly will motivate Mando to join. Maybe he believes Boba Fett's criminal empire is necessary to help him take Mandalore back, or even that he is having trouble uniting the Mandalorian people under his rule. If this is the case, he might ask Boba Fett for help, and in return he offers Boba protection from the Pykes. But whatever happens on that front, it will probably lead us directly into the Mandalorian Season 3, which should be releasing at the end of the year. After that, another bounty hunter which is pretty likely due to his long history with Boba Fett is DENGAR. In Legends, DENGAR is actually the one who pulled him out of the Sarlacc pit to rescue him, and we already know that he's alive in this time period. Their partnership and rivalry goes all the way back to the days of the Clone Wars, where they both competed and worked together on bounty missions. The two make a great team when paired up, if they can put their tactical differences aside, but DENGAR really does fit well for this show. The only issue for his appearance at this point in the timeline is that sometime after the end of the Galactic Civil War, he underwent extensive and horrific cybernetic surgery. He did this to remain competitive in the bounty hunting world as he aged, but it resulted in leaving him barely recognizable. And if you haven't guessed by now, DENGAR is most likely the abomination known as Rothgar Deng who was seen in The Rise of Skywalker. Now in universe, nobody has fully confirmed that these two are the same people, but considering DENGAR's last name is Roth, and he is confirmed to have undergone cybernetic surgery that made him unrecognizable, it's pretty certain that it is him. We don't know exactly when he had that surgery though, and the Book of Boba Fett is set only about 4 years after, so maybe DENGAR is still intact by this point. Even though I personally love that he turned into Rothgar Deng, I want him in fully working condition if he joins Boba's syndicate. With this next one, I'm going to throw a curveball and say that KETU ONYO from Rebels may make an appearance. She's the friend of a very influential Mandalorian, Sabine Wren, and is no stranger to the bounty hunting profession. As a former Darksaber holder, Sabine Wren is part of the ongoing Mandalorian storyline whichever way you slice it, so to have one of her best friends in the show is certainly possible. She also used to be the muzzle for a very influential syndicate called the Black Sun. With Prince Shizor recently returning to canon through the Crimson Reign comic, we could see his legendary crime empire rise up once again. So the next possibility for a bounty hunter who might step up and join Boba is BELERT VALANCE. The only reason he has a major chance of showing up is because of his recent appearances in the Star Wars Bounty Hunter comics, where he fights alongside or against pretty much all of the recognizable bounty hunters. This includes Boba Fett, BOSSK, DENGAR, 4-LOM and Zuckuss. Valance is a human cyborg who actually served alongside Han Solo as a cadet at the Imperial Academy, even getting into punch-ups with him there. After sustaining horrific injuries at the Battle of Mimban from Solo: A Star Wars Story, the Empire replaced half of his face with mechanical parts and discharged him from service. This led him to become a ruthless bounty hunter who would never turn down a job. If you think about it, Valance actually does fit into Boba's empire perfectly, as he's pretty much a mod himself, just like the bikers. Although his cybernetics weren't optional. Next up, we can't continue on this list without mentioning the man himself, BOSSK. BOSSK is an absolute legend of the bounty hunting scene. Just like the others, he has a very long history with Boba Fett. He accompanied Boba on a mission to assassinate Mace Windu out of revenge for the events on Geonosis, and even followed him on missions to search for the mystical Mandalorian Blade of Beginnings. During that mission, he actually saved Boba Fett's life by dragging him to safety from oncoming blaster fire, along with the help of a brand new helmet which Boba would use for the remainder of the Clone Wars. If you want to see exactly how Boba Fett got his Clone Wars helmet, make sure you check the link in the pinned comment. Now, the last major time that they saw each other comes from the War of the Bounty Hunters comic, which recently released. In this comic, both BOSSK and Boba were invited to a gathering of the galaxy's toughest crime lords and bounty hunters, hosted by Qi'ra and Crimson Dawn. Once there, things went very wrong between the two, and Boba actually blew both of BOSSK's legs off. As you can imagine, they were certainly not on good terms after this, even though Trandoshans can regrow their limbs. Boba then tells BOSSK that he won't kill him, but he will use him to send a message to the galaxy to not mess with Boba Fett. Boba then leaves him tied up and helpless and left for dead. The War of the Bounty Hunters comic was actually said to be a direct prequel to this series, so if the two do actually meet up, then I'm guessing there's going to be some pretty serious beef between them. After this, we could get a shock appearance of Aurra Sing, who you'll probably remember from The Phantom Menace and The Clone Wars. Now, if you have a sharp ear, you'll know that Tobias Beckett claimed to have killed her in Solo: A Star Wars Story, or I should say it was the Fall that killed her. But either way, this is literally the least definitive way to do a death in Star Wars. Doing a death through dialogue is not convincing at all, so if she is still alive and kicking, she could show up and team up with her old crew, including Boba, who she served as a sort of mentor for. Next up, how can I not drop the man himself, EMBO, played by Dave Filoni. This one is pretty much only on the list because he is played by Dave Filoni, who is confirmed directing an episode, but who wouldn't want to see him? Not to mention that he is a confirmed survivor of the time after Endor, even coming face to face with Lando Calrissian. EMBO is a very solemn and honourable bounty hunter, ensuring that he will get the job done without asking questions. He even worked for Boba Fett's small-time bounty hunting gang known as Krrsantan Claw during the Clone Wars, making him a perfect pick to return to the series. After that, we have Zuckuss and Forlom. These two are currently in a huge feud in the comics, and they don't even speak to each other anymore, and Boba Fett left them for dead on the sands of Tatooine in the War of the Bounty Hunters comics. So if they do show up, I don't expect them to be too cooperative. But this is another one I think we all want to see them show up. I'll also throw in C-21 Highsinger here, but he's likely to be an enemy rather than a friend, since we know from the unfinished Clone Wars episode that he sided with Cad Bane in a major confrontation between the two. That little standoff is also where Boba Fett got the dent in his helmet, and Cad Bane was thought dead, until his appearance in the Bad Batch with a cybernetic patch repairing his head. Next up is Latts Ratzi, who is potentially alive during the period of the Imperial Remnant, and she was occasionally a member of Boba's Clone Wars bounty gang Krrsantan Claw. Interestingly, she became involved with the operations of the buff Grakkus the Hutt, who was an avid Jedi relic collector. She was assigned to deliver a shipment of executioner droids for use at his arena, but the shipment never arrived. Han Solo eventually discovered the logbook of her ship and came to the conclusion that she met a bad end. Very interestingly though, he noticed that the person who obtained the logbook originally from wherever Latts Ratzi crashed or landed was Qi'ra from Crimson Dawn. This is a very interesting little connection and may tie into the bigger Book of Boba Fett story. I still think she's showing up, but let me know in the comments if you think she should show up. After that, I just want to throw RAKO HARDEEN in there as a very unlikely but also very connected bounty hunter. RAKO HARDEEN is surprisingly from the Mandalorian planet of Concord Dawn, which as we saw in Rebels was an absolute cataclysm. Considering the Book of Boba Fett is part of the larger Mandoverse storyline, RAKO could be connected in some way due to his Mandalorian heritage. And finally, I have to say that Cad Bane, the most notorious and infamous bounty hunter of them all, will likely appear. He obviously won't be on the side of Boba Fett, as we know that they had a huge confrontation at the end of the Clone Wars, which put Cad Bane out of business for quite some time, but he should show up. He absolutely fits perfectly in a Western show like this, so I would love to see him and whoever he's working for go up against Boba. Maybe he's even in the mix with Crimson Dawn as a hired gun for Qi'ra. There's no way the Pykes are the true big bad of the show since they haven't shown much threat at all just yet, but we'll have to see where things take us. Obviously, I've left out a huge amount of bounty hunters who could appear, but most of them are pretty unlikely or could be opposing Boba rather than working for him. Also, let me know in the comments if you think Fennec Shand will turn on Boba in the next few episodes. I think it's dangerously possible. So that is the list of all the major bounty hunters still in operation by the time of the Book of Boba Fett, especially the ones who could join Boba. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to leave a like and subscribe down below. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.